however you feel like you might hear it best. Our piece is going to be coming from these 4 speakers that are on stands here, these small guys. So, and also throughout the presentation, feel free to kind of move around to better hear the spatialization. Yes.
I want to introduce myself. I'm Carol Parkinson. I'm the director of Harvestworks, and this is we've had a year-long residency with Lea and Tommy and MV and also Viv Corringham. So as part of the residency program here at Harvestworks, we have a presentation and we share, the artist shares their work with other residents and family and friends. So this is our final 2015 presentation, but in 2016 we have an additional 10 artists that will be coming in to make projects, working with the engineers such as Tommy and Kevin Ramsey, who's in the audio studio. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to have a discussion. The presentations at Harvestworks tend to be very technical because that's what we're interested in. So we'll have kind of a peek behind the scenes of what's going on here and a little bit of a demo of how it's programmed. And then MV will give us even a jam using the technology that we've developed here. And then we'll take a short break and we'll play Viv Corringham's 10-channel audio piece that was created at Harvestworks. And we installed this 10-channel speaker system specifically for her. And then we'll keep the questions till the end. So we should just like fly through this, and you can keep your questions, and the artist will be here, and we'll have wine and some refreshments afterwards. Thank you.
Cool.
All right. So thanks everyone for coming. My name is Lea Bertucci, and this is the Quadraphonic Cello. Our performer tonight is MV Carbon, and this is Tommy, the Harvestworks engineer, who I was in deep collaboration with on the project. So basically, so this was the initial conception of the project. The original idea was to do a cello that was wired for 5.1 sound. So it was going to be a 5-string cello. So 5 speakers and 1 sub. It kind of morphed into a quadraphonic cello for more practical reasons. The classical cello is a 4-stringed instrument. So the original idea was to take contact microphones that were placed on the body of the instrument below the bridge and attach very long wires to them, which then you would bow as though they were strings. And luckily enough, my friend Ed Bear, who's sitting right here, was kind enough to inform me about this wonderfully magical thing called piezoelectric wire, which is basically a contact microphone but in wire form. So it's a piezoelectric cable. So the entire cable is sensitive just like a microphone would be. So it's sensitive in terms of vibrations. So instead of using contact microphones, we're using just the sort of piezoelectric wire. And instead of replacing the strings outright, we decided to attach them onto the strings, sort of just for practical purposes to keep tension. And then the final product, you can see in front of you, but you can also see there, is the 4 wires, the 4 microphones coming off of the cello. So basically what the effect of this kind of redundant form of amplification creates is 4 discrete outputs. So you have 4 signals that correlate to each string on the instrument. So when you bus those to a quadraphonic array, you're basically able to move the sound around the room based on what string you are manipulating at any given time. So you're basically taking a single point in space and you're moving it into 4 different points in space, and the sort of movement between those 4 points. So you're kind of creating an architectural gesture from an object. So the effect, the sonic effect of bowing these wires is not what you would consider traditional music, in the sense that really they are a vehicle for conveying ideas about texture and timbre rather than pitch and harmony. So it's really, it's interesting because you're not really using it, you're not really playing the cello. It's basically a vehicle for spatialized textural sound. So we can talk a little bit about the approach that we took in terms of the programming aspect of things. So basically, we have 4 microphones going into an audio interface. The audio interface is connected to Maximus P. That was we did some custom programming. This is what we call the one-to-one position, where each string correlates to a different speaker. Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, so basically what we have here is separate faders for each individual string or signal coming in, and we're able to grab these little circular dots and move them about between. Each of these numbers indicates a speaker. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we can demonstrate it later. But basically, we're able to grab these little dots around and place a specific string at a specific speaker, or between speakers, or somewhere in the middle.
And the panning can be done either through an automated thing or in a real-time manipulation. So as somebody's playing, we can move the sound around. So next one is a spectral routing. So I really love this idea of separating frequencies and being able to assign them to different speakers is kind of a different approach than the one-to-one idea. So Tommy came up with this really great Maximus P patch that we call the spectral panner. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically, as you can see, like if a sound comes in, it gets broken down into its component frequencies from left to right. So we have low frequencies down here and high frequencies up there. And on the vertical axis, we have different speakers. So if I draw with my mouse these frequencies in over around this region, then they will get placed into speaker 2. If I draw, essentially what we have is a lot of the high frequency stuff is in speaker 2. This is all really ultra high pitch, it's not even audible, but this mid-range stuff over here is in speaker 4, and maybe in between speaker 4 and speaker 3 right here. And we have a little bit of stuff here in speaker 2, and these frequencies over here are in speaker 1. So it's kind of a weird way of putting parts of sounds into different speakers.
Yeah, and so Tommy in real time is able to basically draw in different shapes and have the different frequencies assigned to whatever speaker he chooses. So it's kind of just like an alternate approach to this idea of separating frequencies and spatializing them.
It looks a lot more boring than it sounds.
Yes.
Great.
It's a very simple looking patch, but the effects of it are actually very startling and pretty cool. So
This is like a similar idea.
Mhm.
And it's just basically, sorry.
No, go ahead.
But basically, we have frequencies, low frequencies, up to high frequencies, and we can cut them out entirely by drawing into this field, or boost them artificially and just let little tiny pockets poke holes in the frequency spectrum and let those come out. and then combined with the spectral panner, then you could do some fun stuff.
Yeah, and it's really amazing when you boost certain frequencies, what ends up, the resulting sound is very synthetic sounding. So it's kind of an interesting contrast to the otherwise very textural, organic sounds that we're generating from just the bow pressure on the instrument. Okay, triple perk. This is
something I developed for just stereo sound. Basically, it's a granular sampler, but I modded it so it works in 4 speakers for this project. But basically, what you're able to do is record some sound. So MV will be playing, and we'll be recording her sound live into this kind of audio buffer that's 10 seconds long. And this number here, 3, tells the program that it's going to choose 3 random places inside that audio buffer. And those 3 random places are going to be loops of various lengths. So this one is about 200 milliseconds, and this one is closer to maybe 150, and so is this one. And basically, this slider here chooses the probability, like how chaotic these loops will change or stay the same. And these pan each of those loops up octaves or down octaves. And this does, pitches them up or down octaves. And these sliders here pan the individual loops into different speakers. So if I slide this up, it will go towards around speaker 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I move this slider down, it will, go reverse order. This detunes the individual loops, and this sends each individual loop through a separate delay line that you can control delay time and feedback for.
yeah.
We'll hear all that. Mine sounds abstract, but you can hear it later.
It's just like a sort of creative approach to sampling that introduces notions of chaos and unpredictability into an otherwise pretty structured system.
That was the video.
Okay, so with the spectral separation that we were talking about earlier, my original idea for it was to be able to, in an automated fashion, move one frequency range from one speaker to the next, to the next, to the next, which would create sort of counter and clockwise motions. So what Tommy did was devise this really interesting way to accomplish this, and we have a little video of it.
So
here.
basically, what I've been doing also for a little while has been doing visuals programming in OpenGL. So it was harder for me to kind of grasp how to pan a sound circularly around and keep other sounds behind it at a certain distance and follow each other. So I thought about maybe if I could make it in OpenGL with these 3D objects, and then assign a sound source to each of the 3D objects, that I could accomplish this. So I started programming the sound aspect from a visual perspective first. So I started with OpenGL, creating animations like this bottom one, and then assigning sound sources to it. And it was just kind of fun to approach sound from that way.
So as you can see, in the top quadrant, those 4 squares. Whoa, hi. Those 4 squares represent the layout of the speakers, and where each ball is represents the place where each frequency bandwidth is moving to. So you can kind of see where each frequency is at any given time within these motions. And that's
I think this next slide, is that this circular thing?
That is the notation, yeah. So, so a big part of the project for me was developing a notational system for this instrument in particular, because you really can't play it like a traditional cello, or you can't expect to get the same sounds out of this instrument as you would a traditional cello in terms of being able to stop a particular note and produce a particular pitch. So yeah, it was really important for me to develop my own system of expressing how to do things, how to produce certain kinds of sounds with it. And so in general, when I notate music, it's usually a mix of traditional and graphic notation. So basically, I'll show you some of my notes. So this was basically what you see in the brackets there is how I ended up wanting to do the spectral routing thing. I kind of messed around with a couple different systems, but basically you can see that I have, the frequencies are separated out, and then they're, put to 1, 2, 3, 4 speakers. And you can see that that they follow a certain pattern where the frequencies are moving in a clockwise motion. So that's basically how I would notate such a thing.
Yeah, this one was kind of the inspiration for the OpenGL 3D circles moving about. So that was kind of cool how you drew a picture of what it would look like, and then working with the
Yeah.
engineer.
And I think in terms of scoring this type of thing, it's nice to have a visual correlation between what is on the score and what is on your screen. I think that just to have a consistency in that realm makes it a lot easier for whoever's actually performing this. So another thing that we experimented with, so in general, feedback is a really important part of my work as a composer and sound artist. I do a lot of stuff with controlled feedback in terms of creative microphone technique, of instruments and stuff like that. So we were experimenting with ways that we could get these strings to feedback. And then that sort of is manifested in this kind of graphic notation that I came up with to express how I wanted the feedback to appear. So basically, like what you're seeing here, the gesture is a pits. So when you pluck the string, as shown by this little kind of waveform thing here, and then these lines here sort of indicate polyphonic feedback kind of bursting forth from that single pits. So that we're going to kind of try to work into our demonstration if possible. I'm a little bit concerned with, so with feedback it's really, it's a little bit difficult when there's a lot of bodies in the room, because if you block the path between the source and the speaker, the feedback doesn't work as well usually. But Carbon, I think that the speaker behind you you have a good pathway towards, so just when you're ready to do it, just be aware of that. So the other approach beyond programming that I was taking with this instrument was discerning a number of extended techniques. So just ways of playing the instrument in a completely wrong fashion that you can use to generate interesting sounds. So basically, because it's a piezoelectric wire, it is sensitive to vibrations. So any kind of texture that you are putting onto the strings makes a lot of sound, and a lot of different types of sound. So the sound of a bow in normal position, and then the sound of the back of the bow, the sound of collegno battuto when you are striking the back of the bow. There's all sorts of different textures that can create different sorts of sounds. So that was a lot of what we experimented with as well. Basically like bowing on different parts of the instrument, bowing on the bridge, bowing on the body, bowing on even the peg produces sound, because basically the whole object is amplified. So you can really like go crazy with like playing it wrong, which is one of my kind of favorite things about it. I think, is that the last slide? Or no, there's more. Okay, so I just thought I would kind of throw up this other notation that people can look at. It's just ways that I was experimenting with putting together different ways to express how to do different things. So you can see here, I don't know if that's so apparent, but in these parentheses there's numbers. So those indicate different strings to bow on, so that I can control what sound is coming out of what speaker during any given gesture. So for instance here, this little quadrant. So I'm basically indicating with these note heads, a sort of sustained pitch, and the 3 slashes indicate tremolo, excuse me, and then simultaneously a pits on a different string. So as you read through the system, on one hand you are tremoloing with one hand, right, and then you're pitsing with another hand. And then to indicate changes in bow pressure, I would use these kind of figures here. It's a standard, notational thing in 21st century notation of how to indicate bow pressure. So the way that I like to use it is both to indicate pressure and position on the instrument. So as you bow harder, you're also bowing closer to the bridge, which produces a more distorted sound. This other form here was basically a way to indicate more reverb. So that would be something that would be on Tommy's end. Yeah, so in terms of notation, here's more of the same. These guys here they are fingernail scraping. So we have a crescent here, and this kind of thing that looks like a hand, and that's also out of standard conventional extended technique notation. And then I have arrows going up or down, and you can see again there I'm indicating which strings are to be manipulated during this process. So that gesture is basically taking your fingernails and going on one hand up and then on the other hand down, and kind of going up and down, and then the frequency is increasing over time, so that it starts off pretty slow and then it gets faster. One of the things that we did was some preparations to the bow. We wrapped a metal wire around the back of the bow, and that kind of created another extra layer of texture. So the way that I wanted to kind of notate that was just with a fairly standard notational form. You can see that the note heads are X's, which means that I'm not looking for pitch content, I'm more looking just for noise, and in certain kind of patterns. So yeah, that is it. Well, that's not it, but so I think that we are going to do a bit of a demonstration so you can actually hear everything that I've been talking about, because it's kind of a silly, futile thing to talk about sound when we can just listen to sound, which is much more effective. So yeah, what you're about to hear is kind of just a quick improvisation between Carbon and Tommy, and I hope you enjoy.
Should we let some of the people come in around the side here?
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's if there's, I think there's more room. There's more room, and you guys can please feel free to come in, and if you're in a weird position, like too close to the speakers or something, feel free to move.
This is okay.
anyone.
This will not work.
Oh, thank you. Do you have enough space there?
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So just a couple of comments, and then Viv Corrigan will do her presentation. So in terms of performance, basically what we'll be developing over the next few months will be composition based on some of the gestures that you just saw and some of the notations that I showed before, to kind of take this from an exploration of what kind of sounds you can make, and really shape it into more of a conceptual and musical form and gesture. In performance, I think the way that it will end up working will be that the performer will be in the center, much as she is now, but on a sort of raised platform so that she has a clear line of sight to and from the speakers. The audience will be not really in fixed positions. I generally prefer to have audience, give the audience the freedom to kind of roam in multi-channel situations. I feel like that's probably the best way to go about it. And yeah, so thank you.
Let me just mention that we've got a date of around March 24th at Pioneer Works. We're going to be expanding this piece, plus featuring some other quad works.
Yes,
It'll be
it will be a day of quadraphonic.
A day of quad.
Day of quad.
Don't miss it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to break for a couple minutes and we'll put the 10-channel piece on. This is Viv Corrigan. Oh yeah, okay.
So how did you find out?
Am I good to unplug your phone?